Hey, y'all, welcome back. It is the Late Night Vision Show. We've got episode 222 coming to you this Thursday. It sounds kind of weird, doesn't it, Jason?
It does.
We are happy to be here. We have been hitting y'all last few weeks with a bunch of scope reviews. We got more to come. We've got some breaking stuff coming very soon in the days and weeks to come. You definitely want to stay here. It's summertime, but that doesn't mean it's slow, and that doesn't mean that companies aren't putting out new scopes. But we have a break from the reviews today. We've got part two of our show that we did a few weeks ago, actually episode 218, which was the top 10 thermal buying mistakes that people make. But to help me out run through this list and to pick up where we left off a few weeks ago, Mr. Jason Robertson, the owner of Outdoor Legacy Gear. Welcome back. What's going on?
Nothing. Just another hot and dry East Texas day, but that's all right. We're still praying for rain and some cool weather around here, but that's all right. No, so this was.
Have you heard the guys that are calling? I mean, up in Wyoming and Montana, calling up and saying it's 100 degrees up there too.
No, it's
so. I guess we don't have too much to complain
about. That seems
about.
Weird. I'm like, how are those guys getting 100?
Yeah,
I mean, that's normal for us, but not for them. So
yeah, they're feeling the heat too. So,
they are, and they're not used to it. I mean, we don't like it, but we expect it.
I don't feel like I'm used to it.
Well, I don't I don't either, but we expect it anyway. They're not expecting it.
That's exactly right.
Anyway, no, I do. We want to jump into this show, guys. So Hans mentioned it. This is part two of basically the top 10 thermal buying mistakes, or what not to do when buying a thermal or night vision optic. As he said, part one was episode 218. If you have not heard that, I would say go back and listen to that now. Because it was the first 5 on our top 10 list. Today is going to be 6 through 10. So the second half of the list. And just real quick, I am going to go over what was on that list. Just real quick. Number 1 was don't impulse buy. Number 2 was don't go out to Facebook or social media and ask what's the best thermal. Just a very generic question. Don't buy a scope based on the way it looks. Number 4, don't buy a scope just because your friend has that same model. And number 5, don't judge a scope's image quality on what it looks like in a store or a convention center or somewhere. The only way to really judge that is to take it out into a big open field on a black, dark night, look through it and see what it's really going to do. And if you don't have that opportunity, which we understand most people don't, then you need to talk to a dealer that uses all these optics and that can hopefully tell you how they compare and what they're really going to look like. So, Hans, that was our recap. Did I miss anything there?
No, I felt like our first show, those were some really good points, some very good, I guess, guidelines to help you make a good decision. I feel like the ones that we have this week are some of them are kind of funny. I don't know if they're as serious as the ones from the prior show that we did.
There's a couple doozies in here that are good, and there's a couple that are maybe tongue in cheek. But so guys, this list. I mean, really, what we're doing here is we are being serious. I mean, these are. We understand making a purchase, whether it's a $500 night vision scope, a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $10,000 thermal, whatever it is, it's a lot of money, and we want to make sure that you're making the right decision when you buy. That's why Hans and I do what we do. That's why we produce the Late Night Vision Show to help you. That's why Hans produces his channel, Hans ETX, Hans ETX, shameless plug. Go over there and check out Hans's YouTube channel where he's doing reviews and hunting and stuff with these optics. We get it. You can't look at these things out in the field all side by side, so it's hard to make that purchase and know exactly what you're getting. And so we want to help you with that. Again, that's why we also make ourselves available. If you want to talk to us, if you're looking to make the purchase from Outdoor Legacy, we want to help you. You can call Hans and I at 877-350-1818, and we are glad to help you walk through this before you make the purchase. I mean, again, outdoorlegacygear.com, that's what Hans and I do for a living is, I say, some people said, or I had somebody ask me, do you sell scopes for a living? And I said, well, I guess, but I think we talk to people about scopes for a living. That's what we do all day, and we enjoy it. And we're testing these things all night. So if you really want to know what they look like and how they're going to work, whatever, call us. I mean, we're glad to help you. But let's jump into these. Again, it's going to be the next 5 in this list. So let's get them going.
Yeah, so I guess number 1 this week, but it's actually number 6 in our list of 10. And this is an important one because let's not kid ourselves. These scopes, thermal scopes, are not cheap. I mean, anywhere from a couple $1,000s is where you start to get into quality thermals, and anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 to even higher if you can find some of the military grade, stuff.
Right.
But these are not inexpensive items. I never, several years ago, many years ago, if you told me that I would have ever purchased my first thermal for, a few $1,000s, I would have been like, you're out of your freaking mind, and my wife would be there behind me with a bat saying, never going to happen. But this is night hunting, and hopefully we are your night hunting addiction enablers. I got to squeeze that in somewhere. We're here to help you make the decision, but we're also here to help you find something that fits in your budget. So the number 1 this week and number 6 on our list is don't spend more money than you should or more money than you have budgeted for. And the reason, for obvious reasons, obviously you don't want to make a purchase, anything in life that's going to put a strain on your situation, whatever you're trying to do. But night hunting is a hobby. It is Jason and I's really only hobby. We don't, we don't golf. We don't play, or we don't have nice bass boats. We don't go fish every weekend. And for most of the guys out there I talk to, this is our only hobby. So, you think about how much money people spend on golfing or how much people spend on fishing and all these boats and stuff. When you kind of do the math, well, a thermal scope sounds inexpensive
Right.
compared to some of the hobbies out there. But still, everybody's got a budget, depending on your means, and just being honest with yourself, just like we all have to do. I want to go out and buy the nicest 0-turn mower that I possibly can, but also know I've got to be able to pay some bills every month. So finding out what my budget is, but deciding on your budget. And the great thing about now is once you do pick your number, and one of the questions that Jason and I will ask you very early on in the conversation when you call is, how much do you have budgeted for an item like this? What price do we need to stay under? Because here's the reason. We don't want to talk about scopes that are way above or way below what you're looking for. And at the same time, we want to make sure that we're doing something and providing something that's going to be fun for you and not a stressful purchase. So the good thing about now is there's so many choices, and there's so many great, Jason, anywhere from 2 to 3,000, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 on up. These categories, these pricing categories are stacked with great optics. So really, I say no matter what your budget is, it's going to need to be a couple, $2,000 or $3,000 to get into good quality thermal. But anything in those categories, there are just, a couple handfuls of great choices in every pricing category.
Agree with all that. I would say this. Hans was specifically talking about thermals, but it's the truth. That truth is also there for guys that are getting into night vision. Your budget might only be $500, and there are really good $500 night vision scopes. 500, 700, 800, 1500. So there's a lot of night vision scope options as well, and I completely get it. There's a lot of guys who come into it and say, man, I'd love thermal, but that's just not in the cards. I still want to get in the game. I want to come in and, the wife says I can go out and spend some money, so I want to buy night vision. But you know what? maybe $800 is not in the budget for you. Maybe it is that 500. You know what? Spend the 500. Don't. What I don't want, and this is important to me, even though yeah, we're dealers. Yes, we do this for a living. I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. I never want to be upsold. Now, if somebody can tell me a legitimate reason, if I'm buying something like, hey, I'm not trying to say this, but I want you to know if you spend this money, you get this. And there is a benefit to this. Okay, fine, great. But I never want to talk somebody into spending more money than they want to spend or need to spend, because to be honest, I got to live with that. I mean, I don't want somebody that, can't pay their, electric bill because they bought a thermal scope that was too much, or, it's not the way we work. And you need to be honest with yourself. I don't know your budget. And I'm going to say this too, speaking of budget. When you call, whether you call us or another good dealer that's going to take care of you, you need to give them your budget. I have a lot of guys who they'll say, well, I'll spend whatever, $5,000. Okay. And so we start talking about a $4,500 scope, and then, well, I really don't want to spend $5,000. Well, then, whatever it is, be honest. Cause and if it's more, say it's more or less. Just you need to know that. Again, that's something for you to decide. And we just don't want to see anybody go get strapped. I don't want to see somebody, have to finance that. I know that's a question we get a lot is, do you have anybody that'll finance thermals? I'll be honest with you. We do. We've got somebody that will do it, a company. It's not cheap. I don't recommend it. If it's your money, your budget, you do what you want to do. But again, we just, save up, get what you can afford, keep saving, and maybe get you another one, something better down the road. But that's our advice. I just don't want to see anybody spend more than they should.
There, even for a night vision scope, $500, $800 is still a lot of money to go out and shoot hogs or shoot coyotes. There are people that I talk to, they say, man, I talked to this guy or I talked to this dealer, and they said that if I'm going to get night vision, not even get into thermal, don't even bother. Don't even spend the money. Just get into thermal when you can do it. And I think that's a bunch of baloney. If you've got $500, $800 and that's all you want to spend, and somebody says, well, don't even bother spending that if you're not going to get thermal. And get a night vision scope. You'll have fun with it. It'll be effective. You'll be able to go out and do some things and have fun with it and still be successful. But don't let anybody try to put you down because you're not buying the nicest thermal out there. You're not that's a bunch of bull. There are a lot of different choices, whatever your budget, but again, making sure that, you're buying something within your means, whatever that is. And there's no judgment, from anybody as far as what you want to spend. But there are good options, again, at many different price brackets.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would say this too, when it comes to night vision, don't let anybody put you down for buying night vision. I had this conversation earlier today. I would rather buy a good night vision scope than a cheap thermal.
Absolutely.
It's true. Rather than buying one of these low resolution 256 resolution thermal scopes to hunt with, I personally would take a $500, night vision scope. That's just my opinion. Now, there's some thermal manufacturers out there. They're going, what are you doing saying that? Yeah. We've hunted with them. I mean, I'm whatever. That's a whole nother discussion. But the point is, spend what's in your budget. Don't let anybody pressure you into anything else. All right, let's move on. So this is number 7 on the list of the top 10, and it is, now this is a big one. I want to spend some time here. Don't forget to take into account that you might want to buy a handheld one day. So we're still kind of sticking with budget here. What I have a lot of guys do is say, okay, I'll spend $5,000. All right, great. And so they buy a whatever, $4,500 or $5,000 scope, and they get it, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. I love it. I love night hunting. This is my new hobby. It's awesome. But I am sick and tired of leaning over my tripod all night long, trying to look through this thing, scan around. It's hurting my back. It's hurting my shoulder. It's hurting my neck. I'm just worn out doing this. And I need a handheld. because this is killing me. Or there's a lot of guys that want to take, at that point they say, well, I'm going to take my scope off my rifle and hold it in my hand. And that can be done. It's not very efficient. It's hard to get it back on there in the heat of the moment and, get it back in the same Picatinny slot so you're not losing zero. So a handheld, if you're going to hunt much, is I hate to say a necessity, but it almost is. I mean, if you get to where you're really hunting a lot, yeah. Now, if you're going to go out and you're going to go on a couple hunts a year, no, I wouldn't spend the money either. I mean, it's probably not worth it. But if you're going to spend a lot of hours in the field, a handheld is worth its weight in gold. So what happens is a guy spends that, let's just say his budget's $5, and he spends that on the scope. I've had this 100 times. Calls back and he goes, listen, I love this, but I need a handheld and I got a problem. I bought this great scope. I don't have any money left. I mean, I took my whole piggy bank and I broke it right here. Now what do I do? And so now he's in a bind. And the problem is that you can't go take in this example, a 640 high resolution $5,000 scope and then go buy a $500 low resolution thermal handheld and use right next to it, because you're never going to use the handheld because it's not going to be anywhere near as good as your scope. So I just tell guys, you need to really think about it. Now, I also understand you might be in a position where, hey, I'm only going to spend $2,000 or $2,500 or $3,000, whatever it is. There's not enough money to get a thermal handheld and a thermal scope. Totally get it. Totally understand that. But just be conscious of it, because I've seen a lot of guys go, you know what? I'll spend this extra $1,500 because I really, really want this good scope. But they could have took the $1,500 and bought a handheld and had 2 optics. And I know Hans will attest to this, but both of us, I would much rather have a lesser thermal scope and a handheld, so 2 optics, than have the best thermal scope and no handheld.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So guys will call and the question is, should I get one really, really, really nice scope, or should I get a good scope and a good monocular? Right. And my advice to that is always get the scope and the monocular if you can, or know if you hunt, like Jason said, if you hunt very much at all, if you buy a scope, just know that later on down the road, you are going to want a monocular. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. If you're hunting enough out there, scanning side to side with the rifle is just not ideal. Right. It doesn't make it very fun. It's doable. And, if you're just hunting one night every few weeks or one night every couple months, that's probably fine, but you still might want a monocular, driving around. But that's always a question that comes up. Should I get a great scope, or should I get a night vision scope and have a monocular? And those are all legitimate questions and scenarios that need to be discussed out and talked about. But you will at some point want some type of handheld device. That's a very good piece of information right there, because it's going to happen. You got to have a scope. You got to have a way to shoot. But that monocular is probably more important. I went out the other night and I was meeting a buddy out to go hunt, and I took 3 scopes with me because I was shooting some side-by-side video. Well, I left my monocular at home, and I filmed the side-by-side videos with the scopes. And he said, hey, we're going to stay and call and hunt a little bit. I was like, no, I don't have a monocular. I'm going home.
Exactly.
So I am not hunting without a monocular. It's just not happening. Maybe I'm spoiled. That's probably so. But man, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But anyway, good piece of advice for our number 7 item on the list. So we're going to drop down to number 8. This one is kind of a little tongue in cheek, but you'd be surprised how many guys that call up and want to do this. But guys, from experience, don't hide purchases from your wife, because they will always find out. We get a lot of guys that do it, and I get it. I understand. I'm never been successful at hiding anything like that from my wife. She always finds out. Even like you think, well, she's not paying attention if I bring this new rifle in. But for some reason, she always knows and she always busts me. So I just don't even, I try to make a point not to hide anything like that from her. But never a good idea. The package ships or you can't show your wife some cool video or, you got to hide it. It's kind of funny, y'all, but there's a lot of people who do it. And if you have to do it, I get it, but man, you're going to get busted.
Yeah, exactly.
At some point, you're going to get busted.
It's your business, your marriage. But I've been happily married for 23 years, and Hans is right. You're not going to sneak anything by. It's eventually going to come out, then it's going to be worse.
You think they're not paying attention, y'all, and you think they're oblivious to anything hunting and fishing, whatever, any of your hobbies. I promise you, though, when you buy something, they know. Even if you got you a little fun fund on the side, some fun play money or whatever, they know when you bring something new in the house.
All right, so I'm gonna get out of your no more marriage advice here in this one. No more marriage advice. We'll leave that to Dr. Phil. So all right, number 9 on the list, and this is another. I think it's another big one. Don't not. All right, so that sounds weird, but don't not buy now because a new model might come out next year. All right, now listen. I get it. I know what you're thinking. These guys are car salesmen. These guys are telling me to buy the model now because it's in stock. They want to sell it. No, that's really not what this is about. This is about some of the guys that they have this anxiety, and I understand it. It's real, and I get where it comes from. But they want to make a purchase. They want to get in the game, but there's always this carrot that's out there around the corner. If I buy this now, what's coming out next year? And I have dealt with guys that have called me year after year after year. And I'm no offense, but I can think of a couple of these guys. And we spend a lot of time talking about what the options are, and I've got the money, but I just don't want there to be something better tomorrow. Well, guess what, guys? It's technology. There's going to be something better tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, it's next week or next month or next year. And one of these guys, this has been going on for probably 4 years, and he cannot bring himself to make the purchase because every time it's, well, what if this new one comes out that's better? And what I think about is this guy is a hunter. He's a deer hunter, and he wants to get out there. He hunts hogs in the daylight and coyotes as well. And I know this guy would have a load of fun. And I'm just thinking, this guy's missed 3 or 4 years of hunting because the new piece of technology might be out there. Now, I'm not talking about, hey, I really want this scope, but I heard that, the manufacturer's got a new model coming and it's in 6 months, probably going to come out. I get that. If you want to wait on that, no problem. I completely understand that. It's probably wise if you know there's something coming or likely coming and you kind of know a time frame and you want to wait on it. We're all about get what you want. One of our others up here was number 1, don't impulse buy. So this is the opposite of number 1. Don't impulse buy, but don't take forever that you never get anything and then you miss that enjoyment of being able to get out there and do it. Because I will tell you, I will be 100% honest. Whatever you buy today, there will be a better one out there later, and it might be cheaper too. So it's eventually going to happen.
If you have that mentality, and a lot of people do, understandably, but if you have the mentality of, well, I'm going to hold off buying something because something new is bound to be coming out soon, then you will never be able to buy anything in your life ever. Trucks, appliances, phones, whatever, you name it. There's always, every year, companies are putting out something new. But again, the thing that you do is you decide on your budget, decide on an optic that's right for you, talk to people, talk to experts, find something that's going to work for you and is going to be effective. Because again, these thermal scopes, night vision scopes, these are tools. These are tools to accomplish and to do a job. And the job is to either get rid of varmints, or predators or hogs or whatever it is. You find the right tool, and you buy that tool, and you go out and you go to work, and you don't worry about what's coming out tomorrow, because again, there's always, in every facet of our life, when it comes to purchasing or buying, there's always new things going to come out. That's how society, that's how businesses work. But decide on something and go have fun.
It is cool. Yeah, don't worry about it. I mean,
don't look back.
That's exactly right. And I know that, you guys, some of y'all are listening that maybe don't know Hans and I well and know how we really are. You're thinking, gosh, these guys just want me to buy something today. It's really not. It's just that we see this cycle. And we've talked about this. I'll give you this example. We've done this on the show before, around the SHOT Show time, which that's in January. Every year it's in Vegas. That's the big industry show where dealers and manufacturers get together, and a lot of the new stuff for the hunting and gun industry is announced at that time. So what will happen is some guys will come along in the fall, October, November, and they'll say, man, I want to buy a scope, but SHOT Show's coming in January, and I bet there's going to be some new stuff. So I think I'm going to wait. Sure, understandable. So they'll wait. January, okay, some new scopes are announced. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. There's a scope in this lineup that I want. Well, that's great. All right, guys, right now we're recording this. It is, last week of July, first week of August, and we are still waiting on a huge amount of scopes that were announced at SHOT Show in January that are not on the market yet. Okay, they're not even here yet. We're literally 8 months in, and so what'll happen is these guys have been waiting, and the scope will come out, and they'll go, well, hey, I don't want to be the first guy to buy it. I want y'all to review it. I want to see how it is, and okay, we get it reviewed, we test it. Guess what? It's October again. It's November. SHOT Show's coming up. And then it's like, there's going to be something new. And it's just a cycle. And it happens over and over. So eventually, what Hans said, the best thing, decide on it. Don't impulse buy. Buy the right thing. Get it. And then don't look back. Go hunting. Have a good time with it. And even if something new that's way better than yours comes out, yours is still going to do exactly what it did the day you bought it, and you don't have to go run out and buy the new one. We're not here to try to get you to buy a new scope every 15 minutes.
Yeah. All right, the last one, and we've had some good ones so far. So number 10, the last in our top 10 buying mistakes for thermal and night vision optics. You and I, Jason, I guess to some people, younger people, we are old. I don't feel old. I've got gray on my face. But we're not old. I wouldn't say we're old at all. But you and I,
middle age,
maybe a little over middle age, but
maybe a little over. I think we're inching to old. We just went from not old to middle age to a little old. Yeah.
I don't feel old, but you and I were still raised, I want to say, in the older generation style, I guess. Where manners and respect and all that kind of stuff. Well, one of the things, and you tell me if this was how you were raised too, but one thing that I was always taught, if a deal sounded too good to be true, then it probably is. And I guess that's always how I've always felt my life, and run my life. And maybe that's a skeptical way to run things, but also it keeps me from being too naive. So I think, number 10.
I was like, what is number 10? I was like, what is
number
it?
10? I know, I'm getting to number 10 is don't just choose a dealer, a thermal or night vision dealer, based on the best promos or the best specials. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there's many different facets of buying and the buying process and deciding. But, I wish there's lots of people that call like, man, I wish there was one store I could walk in and look at every optic on the table, and that way I could buy it because I've seen it, I put my eye through it, and I know. I hear you. That would be great. Unfortunately, that really doesn't exist. You got to talk to dealers and talk to people that have and you need to talk to good dealers, but dealers that aren't just selling one brand or two brand, but really dealers that are selling the vast majority of the brands in optics. That way, people that have tested this stuff out in the field in real conditions, people that are constantly looking at new stuff and can compare it to the older stuff, so you have a good basis to make your decision. But since you can't go to a store and do that, you being able to talk to somebody like Jason or I and call us up and kind of pick our brain. I get that a lot. Hey, I just want to pick your brain about thermals. What we do as part of our customer service goes above and beyond, and I don't want this to be an infomercial for Outdoor Legacy, but what we practice and what we do goes really above and beyond just sales and discount prices or whatever, or specials that are being run. What we offer and what a lot of good dealers out there offer, not just us, but there are a lot of good dealers out there that offer great customer service, and that is, when a customer buys an Optic, that is the beginning, and it should be the beginning of a relationship. So many times I talk to people that have previously purchased an Optic and they have a question about it. And I said, well, have you called your dealer? And they say, no, I can't really call them. They don't really know that much about it. That to me means that company you're just a transaction. That is not the beginning of the relationship. That's the end of the relationship. With us, though, when you buy an Optic, that is the beginning, because more than likely you're going to have questions about it. You're going to want to know how to set it up. You might have an issue with something that needs to be figured out. That's where a good dealer can go above and beyond, further and more than any other dealers that you may find out there. So I think it's really good to find a dealer that really excels in a lot of different areas, but customer service is the big one, because that's really you're going to need some customer service at some point. Not that these scopes are built to fail, but little questions. Hey, how do I connect the Wi-Fi? I know it's in the manual somewhere, but there's 182 pages or something. I don't know. You can't find it, but that there are a lot of good. I don't want this to be about us, but there's a lot of good dealers out there. Choose one where you feel like, hey, I can call them at any time, or I've got their phone number. I can call them. I can get help. I don't feel like I'm bothering them. And I don't feel like when I purchase it, it's the end of the relationship. I feel like it's the beginning of the relationship. And that's, I'm not going to get on my soapbox and get too far more into it.
I'm going to say the same thing. I have a lot I could say. There are a lot of other good dealers. Okay. There are, we're friends with a good many of them. I mean, this is a small industry. We know each other. It's the way it is. I mean, I had a guy, today who another dealer was, offering a freebie item with this scope. And he was like, man, I really would like to get that freebie item. And, we talked a little bit, and he told me, he said, you and I've been on the phone for 45 minutes. And he said, this guy, you can't even call. I mean, he doesn't call you back. There's nothing. He's like, I can't get a hold of this guy. He's like, your time is worth that. The info you've given me is very valuable. And he said, I understand that. And so, I mean, again, long story short, very appreciative of that. But he said, I know if I get down the road and I have questions or I need help, he's like, y'all are going to be around. And I was like, yeah. And it's, again, not just us. There are some other dealers like that. But if you can't get a hold of your dealer and ask this question, and then something's wrong. And I mean, I tell people, like Hans said, I thought it was really good that the relationship starts at the beginning of the purchase. It doesn't end there. And I think that's a big thing, because you are going to, at some point, likely have a question. That's why Facebook is full of these night vision groups with guys just asking question after question. I got my scope, it's doing this, or I don't know how to do that, or how do you turn this off, or I lost my lens cap, where do I get one of that? That's what your good dealers are for. They're there to, and I tell people this too. We can't fix your scope. If your scope is broken, we can't fix it. There's also going to be some problems that I'm going to go, I have never heard of that. But guess what? Here's the manufacturer's phone number. Here's the manufacturer's email. Call them, email them, do this. If you can't get a hold of them, if something happens, you hadn't heard back from them in 2 or 3 days, call me back. You need somebody at times in your corner there. And so again, it's not just about Outdoor Legacy. Just choose a good dealer. stick to a good mom and pop company that's going to take care of you. And that's just a big deal because it is an expensive purchase and you want to be able to know that you got somebody standing behind you. But so guys, I mean, this is the end of our list. I'm going to go over these real quick. Don't spend more money than you should. Don't forget to take into account you might want a handheld one day. Don't hide the purchase from your spouse. Don't not buy now because a new model might come out next year. And, don't choose a dealer just based on who's got the best promos or gimmies or whatever. Call them, talk to them, see how much they know about the optics and what they can help you, get the right one for you. We hope this has been helpful. These things, this top 10 list, these are not things that we just pulled out of thin air. These are all things that we have seen from our experience of dealing with, thousands of customers every year. You start seeing patterns. And we see these patterns and, it's obvious. We take note of them. And we're trying to keep you from falling into some of the pitfalls that we just see, happening a lot. As always on this show, if there's things you want to see us talk about, topics, I mean, we're doing all the reviews we can, which are a bunch. But if there's certain topics or things you want to know, ask a question. Leave a question in the comments and say, hey, on a future show, could y'all talk about this or could y'all answer this? Because from time to time, we do these listener question shows where maybe it's not, your question doesn't need a 45-minute show. It needs a 5 or 10-minute answer or whatever. We put those together. We do those all the time. So y'all feel free to ask those questions. If it's just something you're curious about, we'll be glad to answer those. But we hope you've enjoyed these shows, especially these top 10 buying mistakes. Mm-hmm. And guys, you're here. You're at the Late Night Vision Show. I don't know if you're listening on one of the podcast apps or if you're on YouTube, but wherever you're at, subscribe. When we say subscribe, all that basically does is it lets you be notified when a new episode comes out. It makes it show back up. If you're on YouTube, you'll see our stuff more because there may be some other shows in the future that really interest you. We understand you may not want to watch every single one of our shows. Hans can't believe that. He just, I know he thinks everybody wants to watch every show, but we know there might be something that might interest you. So definitely subscribe there so you don't miss an episode. And you can always go to the latenightvision.show.com, see all the past episodes there in one place, see a little bit more about the show. If you're looking for Hans, you want to see some of the reviews and the stuff I talked about that he does, again, YouTube, HANSETX, Hans East Texas. You can find him under the exact same name over at Instagram. He's always posting pictures and videos and stuff over there as well. And if you're looking for Outdoor Legacy, if you're looking to purchase a night vision or thermal optic, outdoorlegacygear.com, 877-350-1818. That is how you get in touch with Hans and I. We will be glad to walk you through the process. We've got guys that call and say, I think I want this scope, and tell me if this is the right purchase or not. And we've got guys who call and say, I have no idea where to start. And so there's everything in between. And we can, walk you through that process and help you get it narrowed down to what might be right for you. And as always, we appreciate your business and we look forward to helping you any way that we can. Outdoor Legacy is also on Facebook and Instagram and so, YouTube, but you've got us. So guys, we really, really appreciate y'all watching the show.
Yep. We will see y'all again next week. Episode 223 will be coming. I'm sure it'll be something good. We hadn't thought of it yet, but it's going to be awesome, as always. But just thank y'all for tuning in. We will be seeing y'all soon. More to come. More thermal night hunting talk, hogs, predator hunting, all right here on the Late Night Vision Show. We'll see y'all soon. Stay safe in the fields and keep making them bacon pancakes.